Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Matt Johnson. We're back with another episode of Real Estate Uncensored. This is where you get actionable ideas, insight, and inspiration to turn your real estate career into a life of freedom. We have an amazing guest today, and we're talking some really high-level stuff with team building and a couple of roles on your team, the visionary and the integrator, that you need to have in order to have a successful team. And we're talking with our guest about how he's implemented the principles of a book named Rocket Fuel by Gino Wickman into his business. And then we're going to talk about some other stuff as far as his story and how he got to the position where he can implement some of that stuff. So it's going to be a very, very cool episode. As always, I'm your certified Greg Wrangler. I'm joined in the co-pilot seat by Greg McDaniel, the junior grandmaster himself. Greg, what's up today?
Matt, what is up, man? This is going to be a bitchin' show, bro, but I got to tell you something. I'm like a kid on Christmas today. We just got amazing news, you guys. Matt and I have been talking with CAR, California Association of Realtors, and they want us to come down and speak not once, but twice at their event this October, guys. Come down. We're going to be talking about high tech and high touch, how to blend it together. Matt and I are going to be on a panel together, and then I'm most likely going to do another session on Periscope. But you guys, come on down. Super pumped. We're going to have a booth. We want to meet all you guys. I seriously, dude, if I was any happier, I'd need a freaking twin. I mean, I'm like floating right now. And usually I'm yelling about something, but I'm so excited I can't be mad. I mean, if I can't be mad. It's physically impossible right now.
Good. Well, that'll make my job easier today. All right.
Don't think so. Don't take it that direction. Okay? I'm not letting you off the hook.
Okay. Well, let's bring in our special guest, Kerby Skurat. Kerby, what's up, man?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good.
Awesome, man. Awesome.
So give us just the quick kind of a 60-second bio on who you are, where you are, and what you do.
Yeah, Minneapolis, Minnesota. My wife and I lead a team here. We're the number 3 RE/MAX team in the state. The number 1 RE/MAX team in the state is actually the largest RE/MAX team in the nation. And then Minnesota real estate team, Ryan O'Neill heads that organization. And then there's another buddy of mine named Chris Lindahl, who is the number 2 team, and we're the number 3 team in Minnesota. Number 30 in the nation last year. Minneapolis kind of is our main focus. The West Metro of Minneapolis is where we make work. Plymouth, Maple Grove, St. Louis Park are our focus areas. And then started in 2008, 13 sales that year. Climbed to 24 the following year by myself, just a solo operator, 27 the following year, and then added my wife as our first kind of like assistant, do-it-all type of stuff. And so Christina and I did 60 the following year, added an assistant, did 120, then added a buyer's agent, 192, added a couple more buyer's agents, did 264, 265. Then last year we did 345. So 8 years in the business, 345 home sales last year, and on pace to hit 400. This year we're at 277 on the year right now. So.
Holy Christ!
Yeah.
That's awesome. Man.
What's your average sales price out there?
300. Ours is 310,000. The average in the metro is about 275. So.
Wow, because you're beating the average quite nicely on. That's really, really good. How did you? What propelled you? I mean, you added your wife, I believe, and then that's when you went from 60 to 120. So you quite literally doubled. Is that correct, or is that when you added an assistant?
27 to 60. 27 to 60 is when I added Christina. So we doubled. We basically doubled. Went from 30 to 60, and then we added an assistant and one kind of buyer's agent, showing agent actually, and then we went to 120. So it was me, Christina, a showing agent, and an assistant, and we sold 120 homes.
Good Lord, man! Were you guys like horses? You slept standing up? I mean, that was.
Yeah, we created systems and leverage around the assistant and the showing agent, so that really helped us not have to do all of it. But we were busy. I mean, we were working 70-hour weeks for sure. And that's kind of when we started to decide we needed to get some more balance in our life, and so that's when we went to kind of the team model, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So.
That's amazing, man. Most people dream of doing something like that, and yeah. I know Matt's we're gonna break into the systems that you put into place. And if you can't tell, I have my yellow pad out. I'm taking notes, so everyone else should be taking notes too. Damn it.
All right. Well, let's while we wait for people to join us live, let's just address the people that are listening after the fact or watching. So if you're here on YouTube, make sure to hit subscribe. And then if you want the audio versions just nestled in your ears where we so belong,
so deep.
Just go to iTunes or Stitcher and subscribe there. So let's first jump into there was a question that caught my eye that I was giving Greg a hard time about before we went on the air. So I want to bring this up and we'll pitch it out to you guys.
Yeah, but Kerby Kerby and I are on the same page on this one, so I can't wait to give 2 against 1 on this.
Yeah. All right, so this is from the lead gen scripts and objections page. It's Aaron Wittenstein's page. The question is from Adam Katzenell. He says, do you have minimum price points, and if so, when in your career did you set them? And there's an example that he's dealing with. His average price point is probably in 200 something like that. He got an internet lead for a $150,000 property, tried to send it off to someone that he thought was better suited, and they flat out turned him down. So Greg, what say you?
Well, I think you're a shameful human being and should be burned at the stake if you do have price minimums. And this is my reason why. You and I are definitely going to differ on this one, but the reason why I say that is that every single person is a valuable asset into your business. If you start putting value tags on them or labels on them, or you're not worthy or you're more worthy of my time, seriously, you're a horrible human being. Get out of the business. You're an asshole. Now, because you don't know if there's a $100,000 buyer or seller, you don't know if Uncle Bob invented air and is a multi-bajillionaire and is impressed on the way that you helped out his niece or nephew. Okay, and that person has $100,000. You don't know what they're going to do in their future life. You don't know where they're going to be going. And if you show them grace and love and kindness and professionalism now, they could become a client for life. Now, if you're out of the area, so I work my core area, right? Let's say I don't work Berkeley or Oakland, I don't know the neighborhoods, right? If I was asked to go over there, of course I would refer that over. But if it's in my area, I'm not price sensitive. I'll work with anybody because they deserve a professional team to help them, not some Magoo who just got their license. He's looking for anything.
Magoo. I'm just visualizing Mr. Magoo blind stumbling around in the dark trying to sell someone a house. Anyway, let's go to Kerby. What's your perspective on it?
Yeah, I'm actually I'm in the same camp as Greg, to be honest.
Winning.
Yeah, I view every client has their own story. They have their own needs. We've actually helped several clients purchase $20,000 when the market was just tanking, $20,000-$30,000 homes. They've called us since then. They've sold that home. They've bought another home. We've helped people that were probably not as far as a commission check goes. I mean, you think about your dollar per hour. We've worked with showed 80 homes to a $100,000 buyer, and it's just because we want to serve them, and when we serve them, we obviously are in a position to retain that business long term, and also get their friends and family to refer us because of the service that we put forth. And an example of that compounded is literally being in the business 7 years last year. That was my 7th year. We sold 192 of the 345 sales because they were past clients, sphere of influence referrals, or past client referrals. So 55% of our business came from nurturing and growing a database and never saying no to anybody that came from that.
Mm-hmm. My point echoed, Matthew.
All right. Do I get to kind of play devil's advocate here a little bit?
No, because you're going to get stoned by both of us.
So, I would venture to say that if you are in a position like Greg and Kerby are in, where you both have a team, you both have systems, and you both have other people that can help with the client support, I would say go for it. But if you're not in that position, and your goal is not to get to that position, and you have enough lead flow to where you can be selective, I see nothing wrong with being selective. Because if you're a solo agent or a solo operator with an assistant or any type of small team like that, and you have defined systems and you serve a certain type of client really well and you have enough lead flow in, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to hand them off to somebody that can serve them better than you can, whether they're in a different area or they're looking for a different type of house than you normally deal with. Now, if we're talking about, well, I want to work 200 grand and above, and a lead comes in for 150, and all that means is that it's missing one bedroom and it's a 2-car garage instead of a 3-car garage, there's no difference in the expertise needed to serve them. Yeah, obviously go for it. But if we're talking about the difference between a condo and you usually just work with families that are buying houses and upgrading, you may not be the best person to serve that condo buyer. Now, Greg, you happen to be experienced in all of that stuff within your area. Mm-hmm. So you're more area sensitive. But let's say all you sold was 3-bed, 2-bath ranch, and someone comes to you and wants to buy a condo that's $100,000 less. Should you take that buyer?
Yes, dude. You're not listening to me. You're not doing all right. You would be that agent that gives agents bad names. You're gonna be. Like, oh, I can't.
It's not about being a dick. It's about sending them to someone that can actually give them the service they deserve. If you refer it to the right person. Yeah.
Absolutely freaking not. You know what? If you're a professional, you know your marketplace. You understand, you research it, you study it, you know your trends, you know what's buying and selling. And if you don't, then you're an idiot. All right? There's free information out there everywhere. You can't just pigeonhole yourself in just 3-bed, 2-bath condo or whatever. You know, you have to be fully informed about everything that's going on in the marketplace. And Kirby, back me up on this one, man. You know, well, let's tag team Matt and just beat him back into submission so he never raises his head again, so we don't have a bad rep in this industry.
Yeah, I do have to say that I think that if you have a lead flow problem, as far as there being too many leads, the first thing you should do is start leveraging systems or people to help with that. You know, if you don't want to show the houses, hire a showing agent. If you don't want to be, you know, if you don't want to do listings, like you're like, I love buyers, hire a listing partner. Pay them, you know, between 24 and 40%. I would never pay more than 40% to take your listings. But you know, I think that there's so much opportunity right now with leverage and systems, and if you're able to build systems and utilize technology to get leads, like a lot of people don't know how to do that. And so I just think it's really easy. The lead flow is the lead flow is a railroad, and if you study history, John Rockefeller, he was the guy that wrote the book Titan, and he was a kerosene dealer, but ultimately he controlled the railroads, and that's how he made all of his money. And lead flow is railroads, and so if you have all these different railroads coming at you, you ultimately control a bunch of railroads, and the more railroads that you control of consistent leads coming to you, whether it's Zillow or Tiger Lead or Commissions Inc. or you know, farming or FSBOs or sphere of influence, the person with the most railroads is ultimately the winner, and then they just have to find ways to get the kerosene to where it needs to go, which is, you know, the service that you provide, you know, your buyer system or your seller system to execute at a high level to get those buyers into homes or to get those sellers to sell their home. So I just think it's a systematization or a lead, you know, people leverage problem, and that's what it is. I would never turn down a client that wanted to purchase or buy or sell a home if they were in my market.
So to use the railroad analogy, basically you're a train and you just need to add more cars on as you go, right?
Yeah, that's basically it.
You wouldn't want to use Matt's analogy and kick one of the cars off the tracks and cause a devastating accident, killing hundreds of people. I mean, that would be horrible.
Yeah, that'd be
that is an abuse of the analogy, Greg. Please stop abusing the analogy. All right. So, Kerby, take us back a little bit before we give some shout-outs to a couple of sponsors and some other people. But I'm just curious, like, take me back a little bit to when at what point did you start to really systematize everything? Was it systematizing it for yourself and then handing the systems off to an assistant, or did you hire the assistant and then start building the systems together?
So my first 2 years I was solo. I had Christina kind of help me a little bit get the sphere of influence marketing campaign running. And then Christina came in and she really dialed our sphere of influence marketing. So the 33 Touch, I read The Millionaire Real Estate Agent by Gary Keller in 2008. And I just said, seems like a good plan, I'll put it in place. And so that's what I did. And if you study that book, you realize at some point you're going to become a 7th level agent, which is what I am. I effectively I'm kind of working 1 day a week in my business, and so that's a cool thing to be able to do and have a team that serves me at a high level. But the systematization really started with my first CRM, which at that time was a CRM that doesn't even exist anymore. It's called Ace of Sales by Jeffrey Gitomer. So Jeffrey Gitomer is a guy that is just an old school sales guy. He wrote the Sales Bible and the Little Red Book of Selling and a bunch of stuff like that. But he had a CRM that was just a contact manager, and I just used that, and then I switched to Top Producer, and then I ultimately switched to Infusionsoft, which is what we ran for the last 4 years. So
I love Jeffrey Gitomer. I mean, his stuff in the Little Red Book of Sales just gives beautiful and brilliant nuggets of goodness. And if you guys read it, that guy's no fluff. He'd rather kick you in the nuts than give you a hug. But as long as it's going to get you down the road to success, that's what his goal is. Highly recommend you guys read it. And like you, Kerby, this is my copy of The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, and I can quote it. Page 146, and here it is. And you get the 33 Touch and 12 Direct.
Yep.
I can do that too, Greg. I can pick a random page number and then open the book and turn to it and tell you what's on it. Anyway, all right.
Don't you demean me?
That's right. All right. Well, let's give a couple shout outs and then we'll dive into we'll continue on with Kerby's story and get into some of the team building stuff that I am very, very excited to get into. All right. So first of all, I just want to quickly thank Viral. I love giving you a hard time, Greg. That was fantastic. Just the way you did that was so perfect. You set me up great. All right.
I was showing off my knowledge and you just beat me down.
I did. It was fantastic. So a quick thank you to Viral Marketing for helping make podcasts and hangouts like these happen. Greg's a client. I believe Kerby's a client. They do a fantastic job for both you guys. So go to gregsmarketingexamples.com, and Greg's got a video there where he explains exactly what they do to help him pull repeat and referral business out of his database. And then check out Homing In, friends of the show. Both of the founders have been on the show at various times. It's basically a way for homeowners to request valuations from actual agents. It's essentially us getting out in front of the market and not letting someone like a Zillow come in and steal our future seller leads. So go download the app for free. Homeowners are already finding it. You can find it on your Apple Store or your Google Play Store for your device, or you can find it on the web. So it's called Homing In. And then, Greg, what do you got for shout-outs?
I'm going to go really fast because I got a lot of them, man. I'm so blessed. You guys are unbelievably awesome, by reaching out to me. Keep it coming, guys. I love hearing from you guys and helping you guys in any way, shape, or form. Now, I know I'm not going to get all you guys. My deepest apologies. So, where's my Facebook? Seriously, where's my Facebook? I don't need it. There you are. Okay, let's do, actually, it's two different Kerbys. Not our guest Kerby. Another Kerby. Girl Kerby. Let's call you that. Thanks for the referral for your friend in San Francisco. We're going to get that going. And sorry we didn't get to talk last night. And then we have William, May, Greg, John Richmond, Lisa, Jeff, Tom Miller, Lori, Jason, Neely, Wes Brooks took the McDaniel Challenge, by the way. Bob Stewart, who works for Active Brain. I'm going to be doing a podcast with him on August 4th, which is going to be awesome. Vince, oh God, who else is there? I mean, the list is just, it just goes. Antoine, good God. I mean, I could keep going. Pablo, Joe, Shannon, Jacqueline, Lynn, Mike, Alan, Eric, Stevie Hahn. Oh, by the way, happy birthday, Stevie. Her birthday was yesterday, guys. She's super old now. She's 29. Colin and Juan. Oh, whew, I think I missed a few in there, but my deepest apologies, guys. But you are all unbelievably amazing, beautiful human beings, and keep the conversations going. By the way, Matt, let's touch on that really quickly. Glad you asked.
What did I ask?
A brilliant question, Matthew. McDaniel Challenge, guys, I'm not kidding you. I'm booked until October 18th. Yeah, no shit, guys. Take the McDaniel Challenge. Please call me, text me, Facebook message me on this thing. It's a phone. It rings. It really does ring. I really will pick it up, too, if I'm not on a podcast or with a client. 9/25/9/15/1978. 9/25/9/15/1978. It's a free hour to 2 hours of coaching, and I mean free, guys. I'm not going to try to sell you anything. I'm not going to ask for your credit card unless you want to give me $100,000, in a signing bonus. It's okay too, though. But otherwise, it's just us getting together to hang out. So take advantage of it and do it now before you become the November kids. Okay.
That's right. Yeah, that's a long ways away.
November kids.
Nobody likes the November kids. All right. So Kerby, let's get back into your story. Sure. Just for just, it's a side benefit just to make Greg stop talking.
Oh God.
All right, so let's dive into we talked about lead flow earlier, right? So just having the ability to be selective about clients if you want to. You guys are not a big fan of being selective by price, which is fine, but you guys have a lot of systems in place to handle that. You've got the back-end systems really nailed down so that you can serve just about any client that comes your way and actually wants to do something. So let's talk about how clients come your way. So what were some of the systems that you put in place initially when it was just you and your wife kind of in the business to generate that lead flow, and then how has that changed as you built your team?
Yeah, so the first system, the 33 Touch, which Greg referenced, I believe on page 146 of the Red Book, just off the top of his head, which is pretty impressive.
Thank you, Kerby. At least someone's on my side.
That was what we started with. That was the first 2008, 2009, 2010, and then October of 2011. At the time, we were coaching with a guy named Wally Bressler, and he said, "You guys got to get an online lead generation system going." And so we bought Tiger Lead, and Tiger Lead was our first like big spend. My wife and I were, it's three grand a month, and so when you're starting to think about hiring somebody or putting in systems, you think in terms of big numbers versus the monthly, how much is this going to cost me over the next month. And so we were like, this is a $36,000 a year investment. We were all freaking out. And I remember we were on a camping trip and we got our first text message from Tiger Lead, and it was like 9:30 at night, and we're like, Christina's like, should I call it? And I'm like, yeah, we gotta call it. We gotta start locking these up. And so we just started calling Tiger Leads and converting people to sales, and then started layering in some Zillow stuff and layering in some farming. And so right now our big spends are Zillow spend about $6,200 a month. Tiger Lead we spend about $5,000 a month. Commissions Inc. we spend $3,000 a month, and then we have a pretty robust farm campaign. And in the farm campaign we're spending $18,000 a month.
Good God! Is that a 1-8 then a comma?
Yeah, 1-8 comma 000.
I think I piddled. That's a lot of money. Holy crap!
Right, and you have to have. I mean, the thing is though, you have to have a marketing budget if you're going to drive the number of leads that we're driving. So. The sphere of influence, though, is still the biggest driver of our business. Like I said last year, 55% of our business came from our sphere of influence, which is now even more robust than it was back in '08, which, they get a one imprint postcard or newsletter monthly. They get an email monthly. They get invited to our barbecue, which we have this Sunday. We have 300 people RSVP'd for our barbecue this Sunday. We're going to do Famous Dave's, bouncy houses. We rented a couple of princesses. Elsa and Anna will be on site for the barbecue.
Oh my gosh, Matt, you and Julie and your 3 fat babies should go. That'd be great. No, they would pop the bounce houses. Forget it.
Oh, okay.
They're 3 obese babies. Yes. No, that wouldn't be good. No.
But yeah, so that's that, and then we give away pies for Thanksgiving, and we do a bunch of stuff for our sphere of influence that's just deeper and more robust than it was when we started. So yeah, I mean that's kind of where we're at.
So just guessing here, I mean, it sounds like so Sphere would be kind of a mix of buyers and sellers. Then you ramp up the buyer lead gen and start to work them yourself, and then you bring on buyers agents and stuff. So like now that you've ramped up the farming, is that helping to kind of balance out to where you're not so buyer heavy?
Yeah, we're 50-50 right now. So pretty much exactly. I think it's 51% listing side, 49% buyer side this year on the year-to-date numbers.
Yeah, that's tough to do when you're heavy on buyer lead gen.
What is your farm size, Kerby?
We mail to 37,000 homes monthly.
Okay, and so you're spending roughly around 30. So about
45 cents per household.
That's
nothing when you break it down. Like
I was just watching Greg going, how long is he going to stare off into the distance before he gets his calculator out?
Oh no, yeah. I was going to give up. I was just going to come up with some random comment. I'm like, I know I'm going to screw that number up.
This is postcard marketing, right, Kerby? Can you hear me?
Yeah, postcard pamphlet type of thing that we're mailing out. So, and we use a copywriter, and we use our own stuff. We did one of our farms this year. We actually did a January what we called a state of the market update. So we invited everybody out. We hosted a meal. We had 250 people come out to that event to just hear about the upcoming market. The market in 2015 had a meal on us, and we just really engaged a lot of folks that were interested in just learning about our system, learning about us, learning about what the market's going to do in the next year. And so we really leverage our farm to invite people to kind of the database and get valuations, even if they're not thinking about selling anytime soon, just helping them understand what it looks like to be in the house for another 7 years and what that means and where their value is today. And so we offer a lot of free value in hopes that people will work with us, and it's kind of similar to a lot of internet marketers offer a lot of free content, and that's how they get people on their list. And that's ultimately I think any marketing organization, the more value you provide, the more free stuff you give, the more mind share you win. And so that's kind of what we've decided to do with our marketing.
How was the state of the market event? What kind of turnout do you have for that? I'm asking this kind of selfishly because our senior team leader, my father, who's been doing it for 43 years, he brought that up surprisingly just a few days ago to me as an idea. So I mean, walk me through that a little bit.
So we did So that one we did our typical farm mailing and invited people out to that, and then we did a additional invite to anybody that's been in their home for over 7 years. I think that list. So we send the typical mailing to 21,000 in that specific invite list, and then they were all invited through that, and then we sent another specific invite to a smaller list. I think that list was about 7,000 people, so about a third. And we had I think we had about 350 RSVP and 250 show.
Wow.
So it's pretty solid.
That's a very, very solid numbers. Did you have it catered with food and everything else?
Yep.
Kind of drop people in, that whole gig?
Yep. So the catered event, I think it ended up costing us about 7,000 in food and everything by the time it was all said and done.
Yeah, but you had 250 people show up, which then I'm sure with you and your team, your conversion rates, you guys probably captured all of their information to be able to start dripping out to them, following up. You're the go-to guys then, right?
It paid for itself, absolutely. So.
And back to the lead gen spend a little bit. Now, do you guys have vendor relationships that are offsetting some of those costs?
Actually, no. Minnesota's a pretty heavy RESPA state, and so we just like to skirt on the side of above board there. There's a lot of people that, I have friends that say, dude, you can get marketing dollars, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, I just rather build deep relationships, and if they feel like referring me to their clients, then cool, and if not, that's cool too. But I know there's a lot of people in the metro that do get pretty aggressive with their vendor offset, and it's just not a strategy that I've really gotten too far behind right now. As the Department of Commerce and RESPA shakes out over the years, maybe that'll get more lenient, but right now it just feels really, there's just a lot of stuff that's happening in Minnesota with people getting audited, and I just don't have time to lose my real estate license or get it.
That would suck.
So, yeah.
That would go down as one of those days you don't want to repeat. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, very cool. All right, so let's give me a quick rundown of what your team structure is now.
Yep. So, kind of talking through that visionary integrator piece that you mentioned earlier. My wife, so I sit in the visionary seat, and my wife sits in the integrator seat, and then below that there are 3 boxes. We have marketing, sales, and operations. And so, sorry if you guys hear a train. There's a train going by there.
Is that why you have the railroad analogy?
Yeah, exactly. So right by that's why it came to mind.
Right, there was more leads for Kerby's team. They just showed up.
Here they come.
Someone just dropped off a bag of leads at your front door.
So those are the three functions, and then they each have individual roles, and we meet weekly as a leadership team, the 4 of us, because Christina actually sits in the sales manager seat and the integrator seat, so she's a phenom. She sold 156 homes last year, and we had our second child in January, so she literally took a month off, but her and an assistant put up 156 out of 345 sales last year. And so she's a little bit ridiculous as far as her capacity, her ability to convert cold traffic to sales, and now she's trying to be able to explain how to do that to new agents. So right now we have 11 agents on our team that kind of sit under her leadership and management and accountability ultimately, and she leads them to do what they're doing. Eric is a second-year agent, and he's already sold 57 homes this year. And Leah is a second-year agent, and she sold 34. Krista's a second-year agent, and she sold 27. So we're just getting people dialed in and aligned to be able to hit. Our goal for every agent that we hire, we tell them that if you're not prepared to sell 36 homes a year, you're not coming to the right team.
I'm moving to Minnesota.
That's where we really want to get them to, and that's where the profitability numbers for us work the best. Is when they're profitable, we're profitable. They're making decent money, we're making decent money, and everybody wins. And so we run a pretty aggressive ship with the expectations that we have for agents. We have no interest in building a team of 100 agents that sell 12 homes. We want a team of 12 agents that each sell 100 homes. That would be our ultimate dream. So
yeah,
sure.
You don't have to chase so many cats in the rainstorm, and you have a certain personality type, and they fit a certain goal. I mean, there are people that I can name off. I'm not going to name off because I don't know if they watch the show or not. And they, and I could be one of them. I'm not going to say I'm not, but I might be. That sometimes hire the wrong people, and then you get the wrong person on the bus, and then the fucking bus doesn't go anywhere. Because, you know, if you're going to put a toddler in the driver's seat, you're not going to get so far. So, Matt, get out of the driver's seat.
Really? I was going to say, Greg, you might be the toddler in the driver's seat. Anyway, let's. But take us. So, for anybody that hasn't read the book Rocket Fuel by Gino Wickman, so tell me a little bit about, like, how did you interpret the visionary, the integrator role, and why did you guys decide on kind of how to apply that and put that into your team?
Yeah, you know, we were at a spot where we were really pushed by our previous coach to, for me to kind of step out of production, and Christina ultimately to do the same, and that will be the case for her more than likely next year. This year she's on pace to sell about 80 homes. She's really slowed her production. She's actually already sold 72 this year, but she stopped going on appointments, so she'll be our top agent unless Eric really kicks it up in the second half of the year. But Eric's still going to get to 72, maybe even 80 home sales, and Christina will be at about 80. But we just decided with a family. Christina's pregnant right now, so we have our third kid on the way, and we just wanted to be able to have freedom for her. And so we just wanted to find a way that we could really structure our organization so it could run at a high level, still be very profitable, but give us the freedom that we want. Because ultimately, you know, you can make a lot of money, but what good is money if you don't have time? And so we decided that time was more important. So we went down a path of really surveying the scene out there and studying books. And I'm a big reader. I've got a full library right here in my studio/office where I've just read, studied. The Audible account is always burning. Every morning I'm out there walking, listening to a book. And Gino, I came across Gino through a guy named Seth Campbell, who's a pretty big producer over at Keller Williams. I had heard about Traction, which is the precursor to the first book that Gino wrote was called Traction. Then he wrote a book called Get a Grip, which is a fable about how to apply traction. And then ultimately he wrote Rocket Fuel with another guy. And so they have those three books, and each one of them are a little bit different. But Traction is what effectively outlines the Entrepreneurial Operating System. So EOS is the language they use, and EOS is the system that entrepreneurs from about 1 million to 50 million can ultimately put into their business to run it at a high level and to scale it to the next level. And so we decided that Traction was something we wanted to have in our business, and so we're running that system. And we have an implementation coach, so every quarter we sit down for a full day meeting with our leadership team with Deb, who's our implementation coach, and she literally helps us go through the EOS model. And it's over the course of 2 years, you have about 10 meetings with Deb. And she'll train you on how to run this, so if eventually she can step out and you can run EOS for yourself. But we're just doing quarterly pulsing, so every quarter we come up with our 90-day rocks. We put those rocks in place. Each department has a rock that they're responsible for, and those are kind of like the rocks that you would fall on your sword for, and the entire company is responsible for getting those done. And then each department has individual rocks. So we have the company rocks, big picture, the 3 to 7 most important things, the most important initiatives for the company to achieve in the next 90 days. And then we have the individual rocks below that, which each department head has to take care of. And so it really gives you a clear picture every single quarter as to what you need to do. And you review that every week at what's called a level 10 meeting. So the level 10 meeting is the weekly pulsing, and the quarterlies are your quarterly pulsing, and then you have your annual where you plan for the following year. So we're speaking about those rocks on a weekly consistent basis. Are they on track or off track? And if they're off track, they fall down onto what's called the issues list, and then we identify, discuss, and solve the problem. And so we're working through a strategy and an approach, and the EOS model is effectively that entire strategy and approach. So.
Did you get the EOS model from the Traction book? Is that
yeah, Traction. Yep. So Traction is the book that initially you'd want to lead off with, and then Get a Grip is kind of the applied fable. So if you've ever read Patrick Lencioni, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, or Silos, Politics, and Turf Wars are a couple of his most notable ones. He writes fables, and Traction is a very businessy book. Well, not very. It's a businessy book, but the fable Get a Grip is Traction applied by way of a story. It's a fictitious story written. I mean, probably somewhat not fictitious, but you couldn't identify what company they applied it to. And so, it's cool to be able to go through both those books in tandem to understand, what does this look like in, theory, and then what does it look like in practice. And then if you hire an implementer and you go through Traction or the EOS model yourself, you can see it applied with an implementer.
That is going to be my next Audible account
there you go.
purchase.
Yeah.
I'm with you, man. I'm constantly reading, Matt, aka listening. On Audible because I'm dyslexic, as everyone probably knows. But I mean, I'm sitting here fascinated by the 90-day rocks by department, the big rocks. I mean, we used to use something an analogy walnuts. We put walnuts into a jar and we'd write on them. This is like back in the days of what each one meant. And then as soon as you put your majors in, then you can fill it in with sand, and that's the day-to-day BS that everyone gets caught up in the minutia, right? But you could review your walnuts or boulders or rocks and identify if you're like Gary Keller, the one thing. Are all of them? You have them all here, or are they all funneling down to that one thing? Your goal, like income or whatever else for your team, or the 12 agents doing 100 deals, right?
Yep, exactly.
Very cool. All right, so we kind of have an idea of where you guys are going. So you're focusing on profit over sheer number of transactions, for example. So that obviously has some consequences, and then you're focusing on kind of trying to balance out the profitability with your quality of life, which is, I think, a lot of teams get to that point, especially husband and wife teams. I mean, I think Jay Kinder said that he was actually more profitable at 250 homes sold than 550, if I remember the quote right. So yeah, let's dig into the visionary and the integrator role a little bit. So now that your goals are changing a little bit, you're installing this kind of thing. So how are you and Christina working together to where you're the visionary, and what does that role actually look like in practice besides just sitting around and dreaming up cool things to do? Like what does your actual day look like in terms of how you're guiding the team?
So I actually my time with the team is much more around the weekly meetings, the team meetings that we have. So our weekly leadership meeting, the four of us, we sit down on Tuesdays, and I impact the team at that meeting, and then I'm kind of helping department heads execute on their agendas and get their rocks done. And then at the weekly team meeting, I come in and do a kind of a coaching session or talk about I've gone through the one thing before and kind of taught that, or I've taught Eat That Frog, which is a Brian Tracy book, or I've taught some Brendan Burchard stuff. I've taught the Energy Bus by, I think it's John Gordon. So I've kind of taken them through PowerPoint slides and helped them really level up their mindset. Christina, from a tactical perspective, she's the one that does the majority of the one-on-ones with the team, and they have a bi-weekly one-on-one with her, and so she's working on their sales numbers, their individual rocks, and then she's also, I mean, one thing that we're big about is culture, and she's got with some of our agents, she has like date nights for the guys, like getting a date night scheduled with your wife and holding them accountable to doing that, or for the ladies, getting more time with your kids if you're stressed out and never able to really engage, like holding them accountable, shutting their phone off when they get home from work, after 6:30 or whatever, at least one or 3 nights a week, just so they have that undisturbed, uninterrupted time with their family and with their kids. So Christina, she's the one that's kind of implementing. That's why the integrator is the one that implements, and the visionary, like you said, I mean, it's kind of I do sit around and I do think of big ideas, and I do come up with new things that could impact the business, and she's kind of the no-go filter. So every idea that I come up with, out of 20 ideas, 19 of them suck. And so she has to get the fortunate job of finding out which ones of those 19 are stupid, and finding that one that might be good. And so that's kind of the book talks about that too. Is your visionary really does think at a big strategic high. We're going to sell 2,400 homes. Like, that's me. That's not her. She unfortunately has to figure out how we're going to do that. So.
Matt, he just described our business relationship. I'm thinking head in the sky, and you're like, dude, dumbass. No, we're not even to point B yet, and you're already on F. No.
Yeah. So but that's a good tandem. I mean, that's really good. If you guys, Christine and I our marriage, is strong, and we've spent some time in marriage counseling. Not like we're gonna break up or anything, but just to really develop. And how do we? Because when you're a husband and wife team, I think a lot of husband and wife teams find either one of two things: they can't work together, so they quit and go their separate ways, or they get divorced. And so for us to be able to maintain our business relationship and our marriage, we've gone to some marriage counseling. That's been extremely impactful. And so I think that maybe you, Greg, you guys need to sit down and get some marriage counseling.
Oh, come on.
Really develop a little bit there. So.
That's gonna be a sound clip forever.
Yeah. I'm sure Caitlin will pull that clip out. That'll appear somewhere on Facebook.
Oh God, you know it is. Thank you, Kerby.
You're welcome.
Oh,
I got a
all
great
right.
guy. He'll do Skype counseling if you need. So let me know.
Great. Yeah, I'll get Greg right on that. Oh man. All right. So here's the interesting thing about that role, right? So so I get into that role a lot because just project management skills and stuff like that. So I can see it from both sides because I have to be like in the podcasting and consulting business, that side of what I do, like I have to fulfill both roles, and then with like me and Greg and me and Jeff Cohn, like I end up being the integrator role. So I have to straddle both. What I've noticed about like the visionary role is the best visionaries are the ones who have had to do the integrator role at some point. They've had to implement, they've had to actually manage projects, because it does give you a little bit more of that sense of grounding. It's like architects makes the best artists in terms of buildings. Like any artist can create something on paper that looks magnificent, but you want an architect, somebody that's actually skilled in what's possible. To be the one that sets the vision for what the building actually looks and is constructed like, and working with the building manager to get it done. So it's interesting, like you've gone through, yes, you're the visionary now, but it's because you've had 8 years of actually doing it and actually implementing all this stuff that kind of informs the visionary, right?
Right.
Yeah. So where do you look to for ideas? Like, how do you brainstorm? What are kind of the inputs that are coming in that you're paying attention to help come up with those new ideas for where the business is going?
I've got a close group of guys that I in the real estate industry that I just kind of stay in touch with, and the thing about real estate is there's nothing new under the sun. And it's kind of a principle that's been around since biblical times, Ecclesiastes. There's nothing new under the sun, and that is so true. And you'll hear Gary Keller right now. No, I'm not a KW guy, but the guy he's a rocket scientist. So rocket. What do they say? Rocket surgeon. Yeah, he's a rocket surgeon. And so he's got it figured out with regard to how do you structure, how do you scale, how do you build, how do you be profitable. And he's talking about door knocking. The last event that I went to where I heard him speak, he was talking about door knocking. So it's just getting out there, finding leads. Ultimately we just have to figure out how do we get a lower cost per lead and how do we get a higher converting lead. When those two cross at a decent level, great. And then how do you serve your sphere of influence so they continue referring business to you? So for me, it's efficiency within the team. How do I make my team more efficient? We're using virtual assistants at a high level right now. We have 5 on the team.
Wow.
They've replaced some of our roles on our team that were paid a lot more. Some of those guys, they work their tail off. They're amazing assets to our team, and they do a great job. And so being able to utilize them has been huge for some assistant type of work. That's been great. And so just thinking, how do I get more efficient from the bottom line as well as the top line? We can always go out and spend 40 grand a month or 50 or 80 or 100 grand a month on marketing, and that's cool. But if you don't have any sort of efficiencies to combat those leads with on the bottom line, you're just wasting money. And so we've really done a good job of being more efficient, getting more efficient with our lead flow, and that's been game changer for the biz. So I spend a lot of visionary time thinking about that, and that doesn't necessarily need to be within the real estate industry. Efficiency comes in any sort of business, and so how do you apply it to how does somebody in the construction space, how do they get more efficient and deliver on what they're doing? And how does somebody in the lawn mowing space or whatever, so using different tactics and tools to get more efficient and get more dollar productive things on my agent's plate and getting more non-dollar productive things off of my agent's plate, because essentially the agents are the ones that drive the business forward. And so that's the biggest thing that I think about day in and day out. And to answer your question, it's just guys that are in the industry that are doing it at a high level.
Gotcha. Interesting. All right. So there's a lot of questions. We don't have time for all the questions that I have, but just a couple. So I'd love to dive into the VA issue a little bit in terms of when you say you're using them at a high level. Are you batching certain tasks and giving them off? Is that like what? How did you transition away and get some of that low dollar stuff off of your agents' plates without having to pay someone in the States a high dollar to do it for them?
Yeah. Like any sort of like when you have a communication. So Infusionsoft is cool because it talks to a bunch of different people on your team. And so when you move somebody from a stage in Infusionsoft to another stage in Infusionsoft, you can train it to kick out a bunch of emails and do a ton of different things. And so, ordering photos, setting up, putting together home books, our marketing material, all that kind of stuff is done by our virtual team because it's not stuff that somebody stateside needs to do. It's all virtual. They can order the photos. They can coordinate that with the seller. They can coordinate, all that kind of stuff. They can do that stuff. And so that's what I've really, I've gotten our listing manager. She's licensed. She does all the negotiations or not all the negotiations, but she does a lot of the client care type of stuff. But she has a team of virtual assistants that are able to help her, with ordering, getting lock boxes for our courier. She doesn't have to think about that because that's taken care of by somebody else. So, contractual stuff obviously has to be a licensed agent. We don't do any of that type of stuff with them. But any of the stuff that's not contractual, they can take care of. And so you just have to really think through what's your process, what pieces do you put into that process, and then how do you leverage a team to execute on that. And that's where the virtual assistant team has really, really been profound. We have a full-time marketing coordinator too that is virtual. So overseas he's helping us put together all of our marketing material. The marketing lead, she kind of lays out what she wants, and then he ultimately uses InDesign and executes, and any videos that are cut, he's putting those together. And so that's kind of our process.
Very cool, man.
That's very, very cool. And a lot of people use virtual people for lead gen, but you're using them on a whole different level.
Yeah.
Taking a lot of the day-to-day minutia out for your people.
Yeah.
Allow them to go sell.
Yeah. There's that, and yeah.
It's
Very
just
cool.
like repetitive that can be trained. We've trained, and we use Vimeo pretty heavily. So we have a back office where anything that's done on a screen or on a computer, there's a training that's done for that, and so they literally are trained by watching videos. And so our training process is pretty hands off. So they watch the video. They have a second screen. We buy screens for all of them. Everybody on our team has 2 screens, and so they're watching how to do something on one screen and they're executing it on the other screen, and that's really a great way to train people too. So if you have anybody even locally that you do the same thing over and over for every listing and you want to get it off your plate and onto an assistance desk, get a Vimeo account, get Camtasia, do some screencasting, and upload those. This is how you order a sign. This is how you order photos. This is how you whatever, So.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Obviously, Matt and I are huge into video. I do a Facebook Live every single day. Matt and I are doing 6 podcasts a week. Well, at least 3. We're going to kick it up to 6 on our second show called Pursuing Results. But are you guys using a lot of social media right now, video-wise, and or just overall social media, and how is it affecting your business or not affecting your business?
So we're not. We only have 648 people that have liked our Facebook page. Another guy in town has over 20,000, and so it's pretty crazy to think about that. Last year our numbers were very similar. He had about I think he's got 22,000 right now, and last year he had 20, and I tracked that. I watched that. But last year I think he did 365 and we did 345. This year he's at 4, a little over 4, and we're at 278. And so I know that the social stuff is definitely a piece of the puzzle that we need to put into play. And we're a third quarter rock is to get a social media presence out there and start to drive traffic via social media and scale down our SEO our PPC stuff. The PPC has been it's a very, very labor-intensive grind for our agent team to call 100 leads and actually sell 3 of them homes. If we're lucky, so that's where we want to do more things that attract, and I think social media is an attraction mechanism. Zillow is also an attraction mechanism. We generate a lot of Zillow leads, and we track how many do we generate and how many do we set to appointments on every lead source, and our set ratio, so lead to set, is 65% on Zillow, whereas on some of these others it's 20%. And so, it's crazy when you think about the inefficiency of certain lead sources that you have to call, 100 people to set 20 appointments, whereas on Zillow you call, 100 people, you set 65 appointments. Now, the set to met is about 50% for all buyer-side lead sources. So regardless of Zillow or Tiger or Commissions Inc., if we set 20, we meet with 10. If we set 60, we meet with 30. That's pretty standard across the board. But knowing that, obviously the cost per lead on Zillow is higher, but in a more efficient lead, a lead that you speak to more frequently and you set more appointments with, that's the lead source that you want to invest in more heavily. And so we've kind of shifted from PPC a little bit, and we're now going more towards a Tiger or a Zillow focus to try and generate more Zillow leads.
Interesting. A lot of people talk a lot of trash about Zillow. Why is it so effective for you?
It's funny. I was talking to somebody else about this last week, and they're like, "Why do people think Zillow leads don't work?" And I said, "Because agents don't work."
I was waiting for that answer.
And that's exactly the reason. Every lead source is a lead source you convert if you call them all 10 times. Ben Kinney is a big producer. I can't remember. I think he's in Washington, but Keller Williams guy. He has his 10 days of pain, he calls it, with his lead follow-up, and we have a similar model. The first 10 days, 10 phone calls, 5 voicemails, 8 text messages, and 10 emails, and then they go into a nurture campaign. And so every lead has to be followed up with, and if you're not following up with leads, of course they're not going to be good leads. The other thing that's really set us apart on Zillow, our Zillow profile, we have 300 recent sales, and we have over 140 reviews. And
Nice.
So when people look at our Zillow profile and they compare it to everybody else, of course they're going to reach out to us because it's just embarrassingly better than everybody else out there. And I don't say that to be a jerk in any way, shape, or form. I'm just leveraging what we've done to compound more of what we're going to do, which is produce results for our sellers and our buyers.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. I wrote it down as quick as I could. For every lead that comes in, I mean, come on, you guys are closing high 300s, pushing 400 this year, so this obviously works. You do 10 calls, 5 voicemails, 8 text messages, and 10 emails in 10 days, right?
Yep.
Christ almighty, man. No wonder.
But that's the power of the CRM. So every lead goes into the CRM, and literally it's working it out of the CRM. When you move them from call 1 to call 2, the text message and the email goes out automatically.
What CRM are you using again?
Infusionsoft.
Infusionsoft, yeah.
Don't write that down, Greg.
Caution on Infusionsoft. I just want you guys to know that I wouldn't endorse Infusionsoft simply because it's an extremely labor-intensive process to set up, and you almost have to have a PhD in computer programming. My brain is functioned a little differently, and so I spend the time really focusing on what I need and reverse engineering the entire process. And so I know a lot of agents have tried to implement Infusionsoft and they get really upset about it. So I'm not endorsing Infusionsoft. I would much rather see somebody get into Top Producer and become a Top Producer power user, even though there are issues with Top Producer. I think it's the best CRM out there for the average Joe.
Yeah, it's definitely built by engineers. We operate it. It is clunky, but it is very powerful if you know how to use it.
Right.
But most agents, they want big buttons and colors, like click this, click that. They don't want to do anything back and actually read a manual on something. Right. Big buttons and colors, man.
Yeah.
And Matt, I wrote down Infusionsoft.
Oh, don't write that down. All right.
I wrote it in big block letters.
So Kerby, in the couple minutes we've got left, what's the next step for you? What's the next goal?
I didn't really talk about it, but our operations manager, we had an operations manager, his name's Robbie. He started working with us in 2013, and he was like our integrator. And him and I, in October of 2014, after he was there for a little over a year and a half, we started a construction company. And so that construction company runs very similarly to our real estate company, where lead, appointment, sell the service, and then produce the service with the agents. And so we're now building a team of a construction team. This year we're going to do about $3 million in sales, 18 months into the business. In closing about 75 projects this year.
Wow.
Next year our goal is $5 million. In that $5 million gross, about 10% margin is what we're hoping for. So that's kind of where we're at. I'm building that, and then also getting involved in a little bit of coaching, helping a guy that you guys know, Lars, to do some of that too. So, so those are my next initiatives. Really trying to keep my time in the real estate business down to about 20%. Having Christina and the leadership team manage it at a high level because they're extremely capable and do a better. Like the one thing that I do really, really well is what Deb, our traction implementer, calls seagull management. I fly in, I shit all over everything, and then I fly away. And so that's what I want to get away from. I want to let the team do what they're going to do, even if I don't agree with it. So letting go of the vine is a big focus in the second half of 2016 for me.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
I love the analogy because I had a manager. His name was Ed. He flew in, squawked, made a lot of noise, shit on everything, and then took off.
Yep.
I'm like, God, dude, just don't show up.
Yeah.
So I'm writing down a ton of stuff here. You brought some just epic good stuff. You brought some Traction, Get a Grip, and Rocket Fuel, 3 amazing books everyone should go out and read. You talked about the rocks that you use on a large scale, by the department, and then by a certain time. You broke down an immensely awesome and intuitive follow-up schedule of 10 calls, 5 voicemails, 8 text messages, and 10 emails in 10 days. And then you talked about Infusionsoft, which Matt will be engineering in his free time for all of us.
I will kill you, Greg. All right, so let's wrap things up right there. So I wanted to shout out real quick. So yeah, we've had Lars Hedberg on the show before. Phenomenal coach. So if you want to grow your, especially real estate team, and then you're wanting to build it to the point where you can do a Kerby's done an exit production and set your team up either for a permanent exit or a CEO role. Or even to retire or sell your business. So there's no one better out there to teach that than Lars. So it's larshedenberg.com/bschool, or just look up Real Estate B School, and it sounds like, Kerby, they'll end up talking to you.
Yep. Yes, sir. So.
Very cool. And then what's the best way if somebody wants to send a referral to your team up in Minneapolis? I know yours and Christina's names are not necessarily spelled the conventional way, so it is KirbyandChristina.com, or they can just search your names. What's really the best way to get a referral to you?
Yeah, just Kerby@results.net is my email. It's KERBY@results.net. Facebook, become a friend of mine on Facebook. I'm out there. You can search me, KERBYSKURAT. And love to connect in any way, shape, or form. So.
All right, guys. And then the McDaniel Challenge, as always, you want to give out your phone number? We've just got like a minute before we have to put a button on this one, Greg.
Yeah, man. Guys, McDaniel Challenge, get a time booked before you become the November kids. And it's an hour to 2 hours of coaching. Free, by the way, 925-915-1978. Again, 925-915-1978. Or send me a Facebook message. Either one, guys.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, with that said, just want to thank everybody for watching. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and iTunes and Stitcher, depending on whether you want the audio or video versions. And yeah, that'll do it for this one. We've got some cool interviews coming up next week, and we'll be back here live Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific. What is that, 6 Eastern? Yeah, something like that. Anyway.
Yeah.
Until then, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, everybody, and we'll see you. Yeah. Until then, have a great weekend.